Hello, everybody, and welcome to my brand new podcast, Music to Live For with Shanti. It's me, Shanti, a Swiss musicologist and stage manager, talking with different artists and discussing different topics belonging to the music business. Allow me to introduce you to Molly. She's the youngest guest so far and is full of great ideas and passion. It was a great experience to talk to her what music has meant to her and what her future plans are. Molly is also the singer, songwriter, and ukulele player in the family band Roisin Dubh, where she plays with her father. So let's go!
Check this out. Music to live for with Shanti.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this brand new episode of Music to Live For with Shanti. Today, I'm here with Molly Jervis, a young artist from the UK. Hi, Molly, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all fine, thank you. As we were talking before the episode, I met you. I get in touch with you online on Instagram, and I was really curious about your page, about your music, your band. So I think that first of all, I will let you introduce yourself for the audience, and then we will go straight on the topic bands.
Yep. So I'm Molly. I'm 18. I've just finished school, so I'm in a little gap between leaving school and going to uni. And I'm in a band with my dad and my dad's friend. I sing and write all of the songs, and my dad plays bass, and his friend plays the cajon, which is a type of drum that you sit on. So quite an unusual setup.
Yes, so this is something that I found really, really interesting. Is that it seems like to be like a family project in some ways. I mean, is your father that introduced you to the music?
Somewhat, yeah. My dad's always been in bands throughout his life, but I suppose I kind of introduced myself to music because when I was very young, I'd always wanted to play something. I think the first time I experienced music live was when I was about 5, and I saw a harpist just playing in the streets. And, I wanted to learn the harp. And my mum said, "Oh, no, the harp's far too big. You're not to learn the harp." So I ended up learning piano, which is even less convenient to travel with. But, so yeah, I'm classically trained as a pianist, but I taught myself to sing and play ukulele, which is what I do in the band. Dad's completely self-taught, and so is our drummer. So it's quite a free and fun kind of adventure for us all, the band, really. But yeah, I suppose you could say that it's my dad that's encouraged my interest in music, at least to an extent.
So the band name is Roisin Dubh, right? And how would you describe it, this band?
Well, people always struggle to describe us, actually, because they say that we're such a unique sound that it's hard to sort of assign a word to it. But I think, having fun's our main kind of aim with it, and to convey that to an audience, which is really satisfying when you see people dancing and singing, and people have started to recognize our original material now, which is great because they sing along, and it's just nice to be on stage and to see people engaging with you as well. It's a two-way sort of thing when you're on stage, and the audience are enjoying it with you because they kind of come on the adventure with you then. So yeah, that's great. That's good.
As influence for your sound, you go back to traditional I would say music from where you live, or you got inspiring for many different genre.
Yeah, lots of different things. The covers we do with the band are, I really struggle to cover something like it should be, if that makes sense. So everything we cover ends up in our own kind of style as well. So obviously the words and the progressions are the same, but people wouldn't, if you didn't know the song, you could assume it was an original song because everything's done in our kind of style. And what with having such an unusual ensemble with me singing ukulele, cajon, and electric bass, there's not really that many things that sound much like us. But we've got one original song that's kind of reggae style, which is about people thinking my ukulele is a guitar and how much that annoys me. But so yeah, all sorts of influences. Not so much. Well, I suppose you could say some of it's traditional. The lyrics are more traditional than the actual musical style, I would say, because Cumbria is very rural, which is where I live, Cumbria, and some of our songs kind of take from that. So there's one about called The Environmentalist, about sort of climate change and how the landscape is gradually becoming industrialized. So his songs are about anything and everything, you know. If you see, you know, we've got one about a homeless person who I saw, and giving him a guitar so he can learn to make his own money and things like that. And it's just, you know, inspiration's everywhere when you look for it.
Oh, that's amazing. I think I saw a couple of pictures of you playing live, and also a couple of videos, and I was really amazed to see the audience. So it seems to pay attention and be there while you were playing. So even I've never had the chance to see you playing live, but I also had like a positive feedback from this picture, and this is also increased my curiosity, you know, to talk to you, because I say, that sound, it's interesting, and the topics you brings out also, as you said, I mean, this more things is a cool I would say connection to, I would say, like a kind of popular music and traditional music, but you gave it your spin on it, and like this, but and how is playing in a band with a family member? I mean, it's hard sometimes, or it's definitely something that makes a difference.
Well, if we argue in rehearsal, I like to joke that I don't get tea, but it's only a joke. No, we tend to. Well, my dad might come up with a riff for something and just come out of nowhere and say, "Oh, look, this is a riff." So there's kind of a bit of crossover, but largely it's kind of a separate relationship. So it just so happens that my dad happened to play bass and I happened to pick up a ukulele, and they sounded okay together. So yeah, I've only been singing since 2016. That's when the band started. And Dad taught himself bass, I taught myself ukulele, and Simon, our drummer's been a drummer for ages, but he's never played the cajon. You know, he's played in big punk bands, actually. That's his main genre. So it's a new thing for all of us, but as you don't really see the family things much. I guess we kind of have a dynamic because of that, and there's a lot of chemistry in the band because obviously Simon's a family friend. So there's, you know, we already knew each other, so that was quite helpful, and you can have banter and stuff, but we don't argue about home stuff in band and vice versa.
Yeah, it's just definitely just
there is a
what
divide.
is music related is music. Yeah. Oh, that's great, because I was having a small conversation with a good friend of mine from Italy, and that what happened is that Italy in this period of COVID had really hard times, because there are a lot of restriction. Since a long time, even before Switzerland, they decided to start a lockdown and everything, and we stay in contact from the first day of lockdown, and at the beginning was really hard for each one, of them, everybody in this place like this. But now, after 1 year, they decided to start a new musical project, and they are now releasing some good music. And what I think is positive for that is what is friendship, or being in contact with somebody you feel good, with whom you have a good balance. It's definitely healthy, but also the creativity increase, and you see that in the result in the music, and it's something that's sparkling. I don't know. It's just a feeling, the fact that of playing with somebody, playing together. And one part of the discussion we have was about that nowadays, and this maybe I need your opinion as a young musician, because nowadays it seems that technology makes you able to produce yourself on your own. Maybe sometimes without thinking, oh yeah, I need to find somebody playing bass, I need somebody playing drums, and so in some ways
You can synthesize it.
yeah, and in some ways it's positive because it allows you to be creative, but at the same times it's like you cut a part of this process of getting to music or understand how live music works. I mean, I can only talk from my personal experience. I remember being a teenager, and the first rehearsal I've done as a drummer, I remember the song was Blitzkrieg Bop of the Ramones. We were at the time where we wanted to have a punk rock band, and this is, I think, one of the first covers you play, and but it was good about the sound and everything, but it was a good as personal experience. I was there in this room with people that I consider my friends, still consider my friends nowadays, and I don't know. It seems to me that this new process of create music sometimes um, avoid a little bit this experience of sharing the passion with somebody.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that, because music is kind of a unifier, isn't it? And it's universal, and it can be enjoyed by everybody, and it's supposed to be enjoyed by everybody. It's something that connects us all, which is fairly rare to find. There's not many things, not many concepts that people actually can enjoy together, really. I mean, obviously there's personal preference, but I've never met anybody that hates music as all forms of music. So to remove that personal element and that communal element of kind of sharing the experience with people, if you just use technology to produce your own music, it seems almost heartless to me, a lot of it, because it's that kind of shared experience that has the magic, really, isn't it? And with what you were saying earlier about having looked at the pictures of our gigs, and there was that positive energy and feeling like you were there, all of that comes from both the band's dynamic and also the interaction with the audience. And that's what generates that kind of positive energy. So it's less easy to access that if you manufacture and synthesize the music on your own. I mean, yes, you can produce something that sounds good, but it's not so much about the experience. It's more about the technical side of things, which has its place. But it depends why you're producing music, I suppose. I don't know. It's a question of your motives behind producing the music. Yeah.
But I think that I would say the problem of this specific point of make music on your own is that it seems like everything could be done like this. I don't know. As I said, I'll talk about my personal experience. That one of the greatest point it was to be there with somebody else, like see that it's a machine working, and slowly, of course, at the beginning, out of time, out of tune, and everything, and and then with the time you feel that you reach that balance, and then the first time you're on stage is also another kind of experience because you see your friends. I mean, standing behind on the drums, you see the guitar player and everybody jumping around, moving like this, and it seems to be that maybe it would be like something missing eh, in the end,
Yeah.
through the process. But yeah, um,
It's the human that's missing, I suppose.
yes,
Because
right.
if you entirely to manufacture a sound, what kind of music are we talking about here? I assume you're talking about electronic generated music generally.
Yeah, I mean, the example brings out with his friends was the new pop punk bands now are trending on YouTube. Definitely a cool sound, very good produced. But as I said, what you see in the videos is there's just it's this one person band, I would say. Maybe for a scenic reason, there is somebody playing in the background, but you don't have the feeling of having somebody participating on that. And
Well, it's a question, yeah, because you could think, is it the kind of music you would listen to on your own with your headphones? Well, more so than you would go and listen to it. You wouldn't necessarily go to a concert of that because of it lacking that warmth and human element. But then again, you could argue that you could, because if you went to a club with a DJ on with your friends, that's another way to that music acts, is a kind of catalyst for having a nice time with your mates. So it could be argued the other way, that it does have an element of bringing togetherness. But I understand your point that it's lacking sort of warmth and humanity. Yeah.
Talk about the band and live experiences. You played just in the UK, or did you already had some? I mean, before COVID, you had the chance to come also to Europe and play here some gigs.
No, I've never actually left the UK. I've never been abroad. We nearly got to Belgium with school. That wasn't with the band, but it was just as COVID was starting last year, so it got cancelled. So yeah, I've never left the UK, but we've had some gigs around the UK. So we played. You might have heard of the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland, a big festival. We played a part of that, and we've played around England too. But we're just starting really with school. It's been difficult to kind of balance. I've not been able to really commit fully to music because of study. So in the future, perhaps it would be something that we might look into. Certainly more around the UK, if not spreading our wings a bit more. Yeah. We've released a single last year in June. You might know Goodbye. So that's had some sort of recognition. Well, some listens at least around the world, I know. So, and we've played with bands from other countries. So we supported a few American touring bands in the UK when they were on tour. So I suppose that would be one way that we could get into doing that. And we're just working up, because one of the places where we did support somebody once, we're now being supported in a few months. So it's just a process of patience. And it's interesting, you should say earlier that as opposed to talent, many people it's their passion that drives them. And I think you're right there, because you need that dedication and that commitment in order to fuel the, to actually want to do that. And you can tell if somebody's really interested and engaged in the music they're playing, or if they're not. If you look at children that have been trained since they were 5 in an instrument and forced to, do their grades, and they might be a prodigy at 10, but you can observe that they're lacking an actual love for what they're doing. So, I suppose you could, that kind of relates back to what we were saying there about the machine. If you train a child to be a machine, then it will lack that element of heart and passion. But if you view what you're doing in your experience as more of an adventure, and you enjoy it, and you do it because you enjoy it, then that is also conveyed to the audience as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking about that with some classical musician that I met, and a couple of them tell me something like this, even through the period where they were studying in a music school, it was so hard because it seems like to be always a competition against others and against yourself, it seems to be a lot of the mentality of the school itself. Like a good friend of mine now, she's starting and playing in London, and she told me, there is a huge difference in how in London we are prepared, or we are offered to play somewhere, than how it was in Switzerland. And in Switzerland seems more like, are you really good enough to be there? When in the new place, it was just, okay, we can offer you this opportunity. It's up to you to know if you're ready for that, so the spirit was different, and more positive, I would say. And in your friends and classmates, what they think about your activity as a musician?
Well, my school was quite small, and I was actually, A-levels are the big exams that we do here. We have GCSEs when you're 16 and A-levels when you're 18. I don't know what the system in Switzerland is. It might be similar. But I did music for one of my A-levels, and I was the only one in the class. So yeah, it's not to say that there aren't other musicians, but in an academic sense, in my year, I was the only one that was really interested in pursuing that. Because for me, I feel like music is quite, I don't know, misunderstood, but like we don't understand it, but it's something that's very kind of integral, if you know what I mean. So it feels very human, and I'd like to understand better music in an academic sense, which is why I want to go to university to study music, at least in part. But I've always been supported, and my friends used to come to gigs and stuff, so that was nice, and still do. But I say used to, because we've not had a gig in so long. What with lockdown, it feels like it was ages ago. But there were choirs and orchestras that I've always done. And really, I'm a classical musician by trade. The band's something completely different. And that's funny because, to be interested in so many different types of music is quite nice, because it broadens your understanding for academic things as well. It's easier to relate to and understand different types of music that you have to study and read about because you play different types of music. So yeah, I got my grade 8 in piano in January. So I should be doing some teaching at some point. That would be good. Yeah, but that's the thing, because I've only done that because I'm so in love with it, with piano and music. But but people do the grades just for the sake of doing the grades. And I did the grades so I could teach and share how much I love music. You need grade 8 to be qualified to teach piano here. So that was kind of one of my motives for it, as well as needing it for uni. But you get a lot of people that just see, I've got a friend who got grade 8 in guitar by the time she was like 12, and she won't touch it now because her parents pushed her so hard to do that, just so she'd be able to say, oh, well, I've got grade 8 in this, but she hates it, which I think is a real shame, because that's the purpose of things like that. What they should do is give you a sense of progress and achievement and fuel your interest, and not not quash any love that you've had for it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and art is something so personal, and you brings out a lot of energy, emotions, and if you concentrate yourself only on the technique or results, yeah, it's not something that you can, let's say, you can teach it, like I can show you something, but then the student should be like take it to what I've learned, what he learned, and use it on his own, on it with his on with his own, I would say his own personality. Yeah, I think because in the end it's really on the person, and this important. So from what I understood, you would you like to become a music teacher or a piano teacher or something like this in the future, or this is just right now just to think about a possible career?
Yeah, well, it's something that I could consider. I'd like to be a composer, really. So I compose all sorts of things: choirs, choral pieces, orchestral pieces, piano pieces. But I've always struggled with actually reading notation. I got glasses last year, which have really helped actually. But my sight reading's way behind my actual playing because I've always learned everything by ear. So, I used to pretend to my piano teacher that I'd learned the piece through reading it, but I'd just sit and listen to it and copy it. So, that's kind of a new thing, and that's a bit tricky with composing because I've never really written something down that I've written. So yeah. But yeah, it's an option. I wouldn't really. It's something that you could use to get money as well as having a good purpose of spreading music as well. Because obviously that's important. But I don't know yet. I've not really decided yet.
Yeah, and you also have time. I mean, you're ready to start this new chapter with university, and then new doors will open and new opportunities. I think this is interesting. We are doing this interview right now because maybe maybe we could have another one in 3 years, and you will like tell me something different or something new. I mean, this is part of the process of the also so-called artistic process of try to understand better who you are as an artist. I have to be honest. While I was at the university, I just put aside all the part about playing live music, concentrating myself more on research and yeah, I was more, I guess, in the library than outside playing guitar. But and then I just re-enjoyed it in the last 3 years, I guess, starting this new job and everything. Yeah, in my free time, just bring out my guitar, my bass guitar, and in this new apartment, I'm so happy because I have under the roof, I have an extra space, and I could put like an e-drum without disturbing anybody. So that was cool because I thought that it was okay. It was something that maybe belonged to the past, let's say. So now I had to concentrate myself on something else. But now, no, it's just a matter of time. Like you just understand what are your priority in that moment, and then after that you just go back doing what do you love. And yeah, that's interesting. But back on touring, I really hope that this situation in the whole Europe and world will change soon, or that we will find like a good balance to Hollow Hearts, theater, operas, class concert, and rock concert, all genre of music to be live soon again. There will be any places where would you like to go and visit, and of course playing it?
Yeah, it's certainly not an ideal situation at all at the moment because my friends and I used to enjoy going to see the opera at the cinema, and obviously that's been called off for a while. But I'd love to see around Europe. Definitely Italy, Germany, Switzerland, France. Cultured places, because I think that really kind of, I don't know, improves your experience and your understanding, and it enriches how you can interpret music if you've actually seen it in practice. So I'd like to go to Austria to understand more about Mozart, for instance, and Germany for Bach and that kind of thing. So I'd like to see around where all the classical, the main classical composers are from, to see what kind of inspired them, because it's one thing to look it up or watch a film on it, and it's another thing actually to see it in person. But with the band, I suppose we could go anywhere, because it's such a new and accessible for anybody kind of music that we play, that I think, if you're going to like it, then you'll like it wherever you are. Obviously there'll be people that don't like it, but it's not biased to where you're from. It's not so much that, only English people would like it because it's very English music or whatever, So yeah, we could go anywhere. People often tour around Germany, don't they? My dad's been to America, so maybe even there, because the people in America seem to be very much interested in lots of types of music. It's so big. There's such a broad range of interests that we probably fit in somewhere.
Yeah, I had a wonderful experience a couple of years ago. A friend of mine asked me if I was able to go with them on tour with this band, and I had the chance to travel with my family as a kid, but there was a lot of European country I never seen. Or you just pass by train, or you just have a stop in between one flight and another, but you're not there, And so in 3 weeks, I went to Scandinavia, Germany. We went to England, and that was the fun part because I have to drive the van on the other side. I mean, the van was European matriculated, but yeah, on the other side of the road was a little bit tricky at the beginning. But yeah, fun experience. And this just to say that, I did this experience with 30, before I just didn't see much of the world, but then suddenly, thanks to the music, I'll be able to travel, and combine these two things together was the best things, Sometimes I was thinking, my friends have been to the States or the other to Australia like this, and I'm here, I'm studying, I'm missing something or like this. But then you have the chance to also to do all this traveling and learn something. I met a couple of, not just a couple, a lot of very nice person there, and through this 3 weeks trip that I still have contact with them nowadays. And so sometimes even this specific situation where we are forced to stay where we are, but also even thinking about what you're going to do with your studies, as I said before, priorities. But this doesn't mean that you will miss something, or I guess this is the interesting part of being active in what you like and what you love to do, that it will brings it's like law of attraction, let's say, that it brings you those opportunities and experience all together. But do you say you went sometime to the opera? What have you seen?
So they did these live streams that were really good. I think what you were saying there, these traveling opportunities you should accept, because you never know when they could be taken away, as they have been. And I've always been really scared to go abroad, because for most people it's just normal. You've been as a kid, but for me, we just didn't go. So I've always kind of put off things like that because I've been scared by it, but you shouldn't let your fears hold you back. And this Belgium trip that I mentioned with school, that was for choir. And I just thought, I'm leaving in the year. So I've got nothing to lose. It's 4 days. What's the worst that can happen? As it were, coronavirus. But so yeah, that got cancelled. And I was actually quite sad because I'd worked myself up to be ready to go. And then, it didn't happen. So I was quite disappointed, really. But people have adapted to, spreading music, which is interesting to see, isn't it? How people do that now. So these live streams, for instance, and virtual gigs and stuff like that. And I know it's not the same, but it goes to show how essential music is to humanity. So yeah, these opera live streams were great. We saw Don Giovanni. We saw, we saw lots. Oh, and we saw the Nutcracker. That was good. That was a ballet. So yeah, classical music's the thing that I'm really, really passionate about, which is quite unusual, I suppose, for my age. I'm not all that into what you hear on the radio. I'll listen to it, but it's interesting to me.
I think the age is not the fact. I think it's the way you get into it. Like if somebody tells you from the beginning, "Oh, classical music is something boring or for old people," you don't get there's interest deserved. But if you
people on you,
yeah, but if you try to make it attractive, or like let's make an example. You see like Harry Potter. I take this movie because it had a great soundtrack, and I think, oh, you listen to that music, you like this kind of music, and then you listen to Tchaikovsky with the Nutcracker and say, oh, it's kind of similar if you want like this. So you try to find this boundary of interest. You say, if you like that one, you will like for sure this other one like this, and yeah, and then if you see on streaming, but looking at the ballet and everything, I think you receive a lot of new input that maybe you didn't know before. And I guess in the last 2 years, I was working at the opera here in Zurich, so I saw the Nutcracker like 6 times in a row. Like always be there with the orchestra preparing. But every time it was so amazing. It's not that you get boring to listen to that, and it's great.
Always a fresh,
Yes, and it's cool that you say about the Don Giovanni, because at the end of my high school, I brought the booklet of Don Giovanni for my Italian class, an final exam. And so it's kind of dear to me, that at the time you kind of hate it because you need to learn it and study it. But then with the time, you really appreciate it. And even in that case, I mean, to me, it was interesting because as Italian, my mother tongue, yeah, you see how the phrasing is doing, the words that are used. And then you also have the masterpiece, the music of Mozart himself, that it fits just right to that booklet. And I think this one for me, one of the things that motivated me to go and study musicology, mostly for to see how this connection works really, and I think this is good. This even your idea of I would like to go to Austria and visit that place where those musicians live, because I think that's we were talking about your band, the inspiration you have coming from where you are right now. It was the same for those people. Like Mozart lived in Austria, Germany, and Italy, and so most of his experience were from, I would say, most of creation come from his own life experiences there, and the period with that kind of music. And It's kind of you can relay a little bit with what maybe you're creating as a musician. And yeah, I think this is good to try to understand and visualize, you see. And when you have the chance to be there, you feel it, I think. I mean I've been in Vienna 2 times, always because of the music. And there is something magic in some places. I don't know why, but this is it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's partly what makes music so personal too, because it is your individual experiences that, you know, shape how you produce music. And so it's such an individual thing that your own individual experiences in life influence it. You know, you can't duplicate somebody's music because it's such an individual thing, which is quite interesting. Mm-hmm. You know, you can never exactly perform. Well, I mean, even on your own, you can never perform the same thing exactly the same twice. But especially not with playing other people's compositions. You know, it would only be a pale imitation of what they'd intended it to be if you try and exactly copy it, which is partly why I'm not saying that the band try to cover things in our own way. We don't, you know, which is quite funny because, you know, it's just what happens. But you can't, you know, you're better to do things in your own style than to try and mimic somebody else. Exactly. And it can be an influence. You can take influence from other people's styles, of course, but, you know, that's how you learn. But you would never be able to exactly copy what somebody's done. You've got to find yourself and your own personality through the music.
Yeah, but this is part of the whole process, of course, of finding also your own way, your own sound. I mean, I think there is so many other ways to find it, you know, like, because of course you get inspired from what come before you and what do you like to listen to and everything. And then I can imagine having different, you are a trio, so you have 3 different opinions, 3 different ages, like then brings different I always say influences as an idea, I said before. So it can be just like an interesting melting pot sometimes. And yes, well, I think that in the end, playing music is one of those expressions that I notice that people every day when I'm on train or on the tram, people always listen to music. And you know, this is makes you think about if you want to share something, if you want to let people know how do you feel, what would you like to say. This is always one of the best media out there. And now I'm not talking about how, I mean, Spotify, YouTube, or whatever, but it's really the idea of, you know, I want to be active in that way. And this is something that personally motivates me doing podcast, for example. But I think out there, there's a lot of people say, no, you know, like I definitely want to keep doing music because this is the best way to me to express myself. And do you have this feeling that when you are on stage or when you try to create your own music, that you really have this opportunity to express a part of you?
Yeah, I think it's the best way you can do that is through music or art. You know, that's how you convey, well, your feelings, your thoughts, your philosophy in a kind of non-verbal way, which I find very interesting, how that is able to happen, because it is, you know, undeniably you do, you know, release yourself to people through music. And I think music is a stronger form of doing that than anything else. And I'm not entirely sure why. And that's what I mean by it's quite misunderstood. You know, it definitely does that. But why and how that works, we don't really know. But it seems to, open up, well, your soul, so to speak. It's a way to share that with other souls. And it almost seems divine. It seems like an insight into some higher power to me. It seems a way that we can access something greater almost. Maybe music is that connection we have to something above us. I don't know.
I had the chance to work in January, of this year to a live streaming festival, and it was a while that I never had the chance to be there, in a concert hall and listen to live music, and it was definitely an experience. You see it with different eyes and ears, I would say, because of course the hall was almost empty. There was just a couple of technicians there, but just be there and sitting, just enjoy this minutes of music was totally another experience. And I mean, before I had like 2 concerts a day to attempt and be there, and then suddenly nothing. And it was kind of therapeutic, like you don't really understand, as you said, the power of music, that it wasn't not just the melodies and everything, but really, really just the sharing of emotion. But hopefully we are in a good way. I mean, here in Switzerland are slowly starting. We are using the summertime and the opportunity to be able to be outside to start doing some kind of small concerts, small events. But the ways it will be a long journey to find this balance. But all these small things together, you notice that people just reacting a little bit different, and they're still re-enjoying, or maybe they're learning again what does it mean listen to music, because before it was just something, it's there, I can just turn on, turn off the radio and I got it. But now hopefully the most of people out there just realize a little bit that what in our specific case music, but of course arts in general, are really important for a mind and soul, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just going to say, I think you can listen to music and you can hear music. It's one thing to just have music on, and it's another thing to really engage with it and allow that to happen. That process of the artist sharing with you what it is that they want to share with you. And maybe that's the difference between electronic music and not necessarily live music, but just music that has more of a message to share, because machines have no message to share, but people do. And so maybe that's where that feeling of not necessarily coldness, but well, as you said, possibly something lacking, maybe that is what's lacking, that message and that motive behind actually sharing music, because machines have no soul to share.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's such a nice thoughts of that, and I totally agree. And this is why before I pushed a little bit on this topic about making music all together and not just staying, doing it on your own. Still, this main word of sharing, that I think for us musician is definitely one of the most important things that's still out there, and also is also one of the most important goals for every artist and bands out there. Molly, we are going to the end of the episode, and I'm definitely happy that we had this chance to talk. And I think that, as I said before, it's always interesting to me to listen to different opinion, different points of view. And of course, talking to a young artist as you are, it's amazing to see the idea you have, the passion you have, and of course, I wish you all the best for your new study and your new opportunity opening up there. And yeah, once again, thank you very much to be part of my podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Check this out. Music to live for with Shanti.
I close this episode with a wonderful song, Goodbye, played by Molly's band, Roisin Dubh.